Alright, a new day, a new way to slay. RuinusInsight here, welcoming you to part 1 of a brand new modded Total Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires campaign. The first of our backer-chosen bonus campaigns, SFO Grimhammer III, Wulfrik the Wanderer. Now, Wulfrik's a pretty funny guy. His whole deal is that one day he got really drunk and said he could beat anyone, mortal or otherwise. So the gods were like, okay, go do it then. Pixar, it didn't happen. Or have your soul tortured for all eternity. And so we got the World Walker, the Wanderer, the Eternal Challenger, traveling on his magic school bus ship, raising settlements, and fighting around the world. But before we get to that, everyone's favorite part, housekeeping. If you enjoy this content and you want to see it updated regularly, don't forget to drop your likes and comments for the algorithm down below, as scheduling is tied to engagement. If you'd like to support the channel and get access to perks, consider joining our Patreon, becoming a channel member, or purchasing your games through one of our affiliates linked below. As always, a huge shout out to the modders for their work, and the biggest of shout outs to you guys for all your comments and support. YouTube for now remains my hobby, not my day job, and your comments keep it fun and keep this channel alive. Anyway, that's all I gotta say about this. Let's take a quick look at the faction and the difficulty setup, but do feel free to skip to gameplay via the chapters below if not interested. Now, where Throg is focused on monsters, Wulfrik is focused on various types of marauders, with technologies that reflect that. He gets a free summon of marauder champions in battles, provides bonus versus large for all marauders, and gets unique units called Huskars and Ulfhednar, which are basically powered up variants of anti-large marauder champions and hybrid axe throwers, respectively. On top of all that, all of Wulfrik's lords faction-wide get a massive 1% campaign movement range per character level. I always personally stack campaign movement range as much as possible, so I'm very happy about this. For lord effects, really nothing crazy. Fear for his entire army, which is decent, but will mostly provide immunity to fear effects from enemies. The reinforcement range is fine, but we'll probably never use it, as there's probably not going to be a follower army for Wulfrik himself. On the other hand, 20% upkeep for marauder units in general is pretty darn solid, as the marauder champs that Wulfrik is famous for will be pretty darn expensive. Next, for the gameplay setup, we're going very hard, as I find that to be the sweet spot, with the AI stats modifier dialed all the way up to the max. And that's probably it. All glory to the algorithm, and let's take a walk.
I fear no champion. I only destroy them.
Alrighty, here we go. The World Walker on field and ready to take his first enthusiastic walk. Hey, is Wulfrik the first guy in the Warhammer world to circumnavigate the globe? Does it count if you have a magical teleporting ship? Do his contributions to science and navigation outweigh his skillful nature? These are the questions, people. Man, I'm getting off track in record time today. Anyway, Norsca, the World Walkers, how they play. So raising settlements, pledging them to one of the gods gives us, frankly, a bunch of stuff, ultimately unlocking a champion of that particular god and various buffs that we'll take a look at as we go and as we choose which gods we want to focus. We have those special missions of the Monstrous Arcanum, where we hunt monsters, what Norsca is known for, that will allow us to both unlock special items as well as tame some of those monsters for ourselves as regiments of renown. We conquer special places to develop Norscan strongholds, and lastly we have that confed mechanic similar to Greenskins, where if we defeat the lord of an enemy Norscan tribe, tribe, they get automatically confederated, which is great because it means early game Throg as soon as we can get to him and defeat him. Anyway, engage the enemy. First, a little army here, Norsca on Norscan action. We start with a Shaman Sorcerer of Metal, who has a Chaotic Instincts trait. Cooldown reduction should be decent on the Searing Doom, if nothing else. And spell resistance, I guess, good for miscasting and not damaging yourself too much. Alrighty, and ooh, the Chaos Sorcerers also buff up Marauder units in general, which likely means that we'll want at least a couple of them in Wulfrik's army. Now, I assume that we cannot, yeah, we can't raise anybody else, and that's just fine. We're gonna pop you into Wulfrik's army, and we'll deal with the techs, we'll deal with the buildings, etc., etc. I'm always too excited to start the battle off. Rampage. Let me just see about this. So, ability Feral Rage, and I take it that's on all of our units. But we do gain experience gain and vigor loss reduction, which might make the battle easier, or might make it harder, depending. I guess we're about to find out. First battle, even though it is unlosable due to, well, it's a first battle, will be a cinematic fight, a cinematic replay for those unfamiliar how I do things on the channel. And pretty much, well, most fights will be cinematics anyway. So anyway, here we go. First battle, debut, Wulfrik. I'm too excited to speak. Go. Alright, here we go. I was expecting a speech from Wulfrik, but I think he just yelled something, and that was about it. And the World Walker is not known for being a man of few words, so... Hopefully the next battle will get a proper speech. Anyway, we've got a nice little river location, and this battle did answer the question of where we get those additional Marauder champions. They are summoned right on top of Wulfrik as soon as the battle starts, and a single unit of Marauder champions being summoned is a pretty big boon to an army, especially in the early game, as it is a unit that we can use to absorb enemy charges and sort of force their army into a position that they may not find particularly advantageous, as we don't care about our own summoned units surviving. Anyway, we're going to start the battle off with a little bit of good old-fashioned skirmish action as we chuck axe after axe into this enemy unit of Marauders, or Marauder champions, which attempts to give chase to our Marauder horses. Wulfrik is sort of following the rest of his army, but we will deploy on this side of the river until we see how the enemy army will react to ours. The Marauder champions will get charged by our own Marauders with great weapons, and even though this is not a great matchup, at the very least, due to the disparity in unit quality, we do have armor piercing on our units of Marauders with great weapons, more armor piercing and splash damage out of our War Mammoth, or Feral Mammoth, I guess. And, of course, even more armor piercing on those axes, smashing into the backs of those Marauder champions. The enemy Marauder champions are the best unit that they have, and as soon as they fall, the enemy army will be much weaker. Out here, there is a unit of Femere warriors, however. This is the armor-sundering anti-infantry dual, I want to say, maces that these guys got. I think they count as axe infantry for the purpose of the game, but I guess it doesn't really matter much. Seafang will come in, and a little bit clip of the enemy units, but unfortunately we don't have a particularly good lineup for it. As in, the enemy didn't blob enough in a manner far enough away from our own troops where we could get good use out of it. But that's alright, we got 2 more uses out of it. And it looks like the enemy Marauder champions, at least, are now out of the picture. Berserkers have made it in. Wulfrik is getting a duel with the enemy Lord, and 2 of the enemy units are now routing. And the 2 chieftains, rather, will be whacking away at each other for quite a while. No Slaneshi giggle, at least not yet. And we'll let them do so. Out here, the Femere and the enemy Marauder spears are distracted by our summoned Marauder champions, which is exactly what we wanted out of them, especially as the Femere were the second biggest threat after the enemy Marauder champions as well. We're gonna charge into the enemy Marauder horses with our own Marauder horses, who and do have a lot more melee defense, probably by virtue of them having axes rather than the javelins. And they'll just hold the enemy back for a few seconds and allow our mammoth and our infantry to move on in. We'll then charge out to prevent additional losses to our Marauder Cav, and should be able to destroy this individual unit of Marauder Horsemen with ease. There we go, now they're out of the picture. The Fimir Warriors and the Spears are the last units on the field and are still fighting. Wulfrik is still getting at least something of a duel going with the Marauder Chieftain, who's holding back both Wulfrik and these Marauder axes. However, we don't really want to interrupt the duel, and I'd rather send those guys off to chase an enemy while these two duke it out. Our caster gets a nice Searing Doom on the enemy Fimir Warriors, who take a little bit of damage, and our Feral Mammoth moves in to help out, though it does start rampaging fairly quick. Speaking of rampaging, it looks like Wulfrik is in the same situation. But a few more hits will carry the day as the enemy is shaken and will rout. Okay, I don't know what you're hitting there, Wulfrik, but try a little harder. Alrighty, and I do believe with that the enemy army will shatter, and this first debut battle will be ours. Very nice, lots and lots of rampaging from our rampage stance. Does see us lose control of a fair few units, but that summoned unit of Marauder Champions does allow us to carry the day quite well. Alrighty. I do think I prefer Wintertooth's color scheme for their clothes rather than the sort of brown-orange that we got on Wulfrik, but on the bright side it'll be very nice and visible against most enemies, and nice sort of color coordination with the red hair of a lot of our Norscan Marauders. Anyway, I'm going to chase at least a few enemies down, mostly just so that Wulfrik takes the head of the enemy chieftain. Like so. Okay, or maybe just knocks down a bunch of his own troops. Takes the head of the enemy chieftain, like... Ah, come on, Wulfrik. The other Marauders are probably in his way. Oh, and in fact, okay, I guess this guy will take the head. Or maybe not, I don't know. It doesn't really matter with that. The battle is ours, and we've got bigger battles to fight. Ah, alright, there we go. Most damage on Wulfrik, who had 1 kill and a solid duel for himself. And maybe I should have avoided allowing him taking so much damage, but it felt appropriate, didn't it? Now, we do have to be real careful with that rampage berserk stance that causes our units to go nuts. I've definitely been on the receiving end of that in a recent campaign, in a recent episode of the Kotip campaign, which I was not expecting to be applied to one of our armies, and it was a range army that had it affect them, and thus we nearly lost the force, or at the very least took heavy losses or heavy damage. We gotta be careful of taking damage in the same manner ourselves, especially if we want to use range units like whalers and other things in this army. Anyway, we got 1,000 gold, and I think we're gonna take that. I mean, it's hard to pass up 1,000 gold in the early game, let's face it. Alright, now I assume that guy whose name I've already forgotten was the chief of the Bjornling, and yes indeed he was, which means, yeah, obviously we're not going to release him just for a little bit of Diplo with the first faction we fight. Or why would we care about killing them permanently? No, we're obviously going to form a confederation. I probably should have read that instead of clicking that. It's okay, I think those are generic texts, and I guess I'll read the next one. Anyway, well done, Wolfie. Now, let's see what your special abilities are. I was too excited to get into our first fight, so I want to see what you can do. Hunter of Champions gives you a massive, and I mean massive, hex, reducing their speed so they can't run from you, and reducing their melee defense and armor as well. Juggernaut of the Sorrel powers up the javelin units, giving them better and anti-large and more anti-large for Marauder Cav, Marauder Spears, and Marauder Hunters. Worldwalker gives us more magic school bus uses. Immunity to sea-based attrition could be helpful depending on where exactly we go with Wulfrik and at what time. Terror-causing enemy leadership reduction, upkeep reduction, always nice, especially in combination with the Marauder reductions we already have. And then a challenge me passive ability, further reductions to enemy lords for dueling, additional plunder, perfect vigor, which is useless generally speaking because we acquire it automatically via, I think, traveling around far away from our capital, casualty punishment trait, and oh, it's an upgrade of the Hunter of Champions, I see. Alright, some solid traits, especially for dueling. Ooh, Fervent Creatures. You can also upgrade Skinwolves. I wonder if this is... It's probably not unique to Wulfrik. No, actually, Skinwolves in the Wanderer service enjoys speed and skill beyond even their preternatural capabilities. It looks like it is unique to Wulfrik. Interesting. I wasn't expecting that. I thought it might be a generic Norscan Lord trait, but it is a good thing to see. We are going to take Root Marcher first and then move into buffs for Marauders as the champions and... Ooh. Oh. The legendary unit for Norsca is a Berserker Forsaken unit. That's kind of interesting. I can't wait to see you. I guess you're going to be a tier 5 settlement legendary unit that will get you eventually. And yes, indeed, there's that confederation giving us Troll Fjord. Now, I admit I haven't touched Norsca since Total Warhammer 2 when I played Throg, which was a very enjoyable campaign, but I don't remember what their commandments or their stances or their buildings do, so let's relearn them together. Venerate the 4 will give us a massive campaign movement range bonus when starting in this province, which I think we'll need if we want to hit the Null Farlings as fast as possible. Growth increase, construction time, decrease casualty replenishment, construction cost, Marauders to Builders. A very, very solid commandment. I was not expecting that from Norsca. Well done. Control increase, campaign movement range reduction, attrition. That one's kind of meh. Except to counteract plagues, and then summon the chieftains is for recruitment specifically. Alright, we're going to start off with Venerate the 4, as I don't know whether we can reach Grayling Moot in one go. And we'll certainly want to... Oh, but we'll also want to recruit on the first turn. I think even with Venerate the 4, we won't be able to reach Grayling Moot in one turn, so I think I'd rather recruit, and then we can switch you instead to Marauders to Builders. Speaking of buildings, okay, first of all, Monolith of the Bloody Hand. Income, control +2 faction-wide, solid, and passive ability Guardian for Marauder champion units. That's very solid as well. Alright, nice. Alright, so every lord can have a Marauder champion units as a personal guard. Well, maybe not every lord. Oh, speaking of lords, what do we have here? Oh, right. Azric the Maze Keeper and Burple Smirk Spew Pit. I'm tempted to go for this guy just because of the name, Burple Smirk. That's fantastic. Yeah, we'll see about who we get here. Maybe we'll put it to a vote. We shall see. Anyway, what I wanted to see is this. What kind of traits do we have? Ooh, Marauder Chariot buffs. Surtha Ek, that's for you. Mammoth buffs, yeah, Mammoth Army. Minus 20% upkeep for Norscan Giants. Swell as well. And it looks like this guy, he has the Chariot buff, which is unfortunate because that's going to Surtha Ek. Oh. Surtha Ek better have a Chariot buff. Wasteland Marauder gives us melee and missile to... Oh, this is Subterranean, meh. Missile Resistance, Monster Hunter, Nobbler Traps for Marauder Hunter, which is actually a fairly decent ability as it keeps them alive a lot better. At least when Cavalry charges them. That's okay. What about Fimir? Ooh, we have a Mistwalker immediately. Alright, that's good. In fact, I don't want to lose the Mistwalker, and despite the expense, we're going to summon you and just start leveling you up. I'd like a Fimir Lord up and running relatively quickly. We can start recruiting Fimir at only rank 2, or tier 2 in terms of our military structure, though it'll be ranked tier 4 until we can get full Fimir warriors. That Lord can level up and get a... use Stalkers until it can get warriors. You. Slith Wallbreaker. You're costly, but you can level together by following Wulfrik and leeching his XP. I might do the same thing with another couple of Marauders if we get some really good traits, depending. We'll definitely want a Skinwolf army, and well, I mean, I've already got like 10 different armies sort of planned out. There's a decent pile of units available to us in Norsca, so we should have some fun. Anyway, you are going to summon I'm gonna say start with the Marauder Hunters with Javelins. They're pretty solid units in the early game. And let's get a sacrificial regular unit of Marauders as well. Like so. Then...
To the four corners!
Well, that's a question. Do we build the Shattered Frame so that we can get some doggos? And then delete it and then maybe replace it with either the growth or money building? That seems like the way to do it. Alright, let's do this Shattered Frame to start. Get some Norscan Warhounds, delete it. Uncollect the income so that we grow faster. And yes, next up, technologies. Alright, so we have very limited number of techs here, but yeah. And plunder. Okay, so this is a unique currency available to us. Available due to battles, buildings, characters, events, raising, buildings, and techs. And I assume that all of our best techs are... Yeah, all of our best techs will probably be locked behind this. Which, fair enough. Tactician for all characters faction-wide, solid. Everybody gets melee defense and speed, yeah. Upkeep reductions? Alright, so the good stuff is locked behind this. Sea Marauder's Tools gives us a movement range when raising a settlement. Ooh. 25% campaign movement range for navies, so it's specifically when at sea, eh? We probably won't be raising any settlements in the early game because we will be fighting other Norscans to confederate them. We should unlock the monster hunts ASAP, but I think that we gotta start with Formidable Chieftain and just to get the campaign movement range. And the more we can move, the faster we can reach other places and hunt down the enemy lords and quickly confederate all of Norsca and then start despoiling the soft lands to the south. Alright, that looks good. I assume that there's the Sightless. Now they're gonna get ripped apart by Bellicor within like a couple of turns. So the rest of that we can ignore. These guys actually want to peace out already. That's awful quick. You gotta at least give Wulfrik a fight, man. And, okay, the Monstrous Arcanum is obviously not locked. I prefer a Ruinous Arcanum, which is where we keep our community canon, lords, heroes, concepts, armies, etc, etc, etc. Oh, we'll definitely need to get some nice community canon stuff. I don't think there's anything in the Norscan community canon. I'm getting lots of factions lately that are bereft of supporting the canon. Anyway, this is the SFO mod menu. To start off, I always go for the time of maneuvers, just for that extra little campaign movement range. If the time of growth was like 3 turns, it would be a much harder choice, but for only a single turn, it's not worth it. Although this would bump up our control to max immediately. You know what I should have done? I should have checked what exactly max control does for Norsca, which I'm going to do right now, but will take time and maneuvers. What does it do? So max control for Norsca gives us income from raiding faction-wide, recruitment cost reduction, which is something, but otherwise nothing crazy, so I think we're okay. Oh, uncollected income, so we didn't recruit as much as I would have liked. But oh well. Alright, Wulfrik, you're gonna go to the edge of this territory like so. Gonna grab a couple of doggos. We'll have Slith Wallbreaker follow you along. And a couple of Norscan doggos, just to chase down foes, as it'll allow our Marauder horsemen to actually continue doing their thing. Now, oh, we have raiding camp available to us. Wait. I was wondering whether we could have moved out here instead and then started the raiding camp, but it looks like we can't move that far anyway. I should have actually gone here. It's alright. Relearning Norsca is gonna take, well, a couple of episodes probably. Alright, the rest of that looks good. Gotta watch out for the Scaling and the Bjornling, I wanna say? Nope, Varg, declaring war on us. Looks like Conquata has been captured by the Shadow Legion already, and we'll also have to decide whether we want to be friendly with Bellicor or just kill him and take the lovely Ohm Stones for ourselves. A research rate might be difficult to acquire for Norsca, so that might be... it might be in the cards. Plus, a solid duel for Wulfrik, if nothing else. Alright, Grayling Loot is next on the menu. Faction encountered Shadow Legion, go figure. I believe they don't attack us while we're away from home. I don't see these guys' main stack as yet. What do we have in the Grayling Moot? Basically nothing. You, sir. Oh, we could use you to take it and Wulfrik to reinforce. There's another... is this guy the Lord? Yes, it is. Alright, so the question is, can we reach you? We can. But will he fight, or will he run? Will he stay, or will he go? I think we have sufficient units that he'll most likely run away. So we probably shouldn't risk it. You know what? Wait. If we attack with you, and then auto-resolve it, Wulfrik's army may be sufficiently damaged that this guy might be willing to fight. I don't think so, but we should try. Auto-resolve it, like so. Then... No, we're not raising anything in Norsca. Control faction-wide, upkeep faction-wide, growth faction-wide. Okay, so we probably want to start with the Crow early in the game. Or maybe Eagle. But early game growth is very solid, but, you know, obviously not here. Occupy the place. Scroll of Blast, then... We'll put the Scroll of Blast on you. No ancillaries. Man, going from Imric to, with a ton of items to no items is just freaky. Man, if this campaign is half as good as the Imric campaign, I'm gonna be so happy. Probably my favorite late game of all the campaigns. Anyway, income from all buildings, construction costs for all buildings, fine, but we gotta spam Searing Doom at all times constantly, so Searing Doom it will be. This... I mean, extra XP for units, I guess. You know what? We can't do that with the Norscan Warhounds, they're too fragile. Go, see if he runs. Run he will. Now, here's a question. I didn't mean to do that. Wait. I wanted to see if he'd confederate immediately. I'm concerned now that he might be able to get around us and kill Slith, but it looks like he cannot, so we're good. Alright, just stick around. He'll probably go to Doomkeep and then he will fall. And... we no longer need the Doggo building here, so we'll delete it, replace it with growth. We will uncollect the income here. We start with the money building and then we'll go for the growth building next. Alright, looks good. End turn. You can just go ahead and try to attack Wulfrik if you'd like. Lamont Dahl. Come on now. Please don't go this way. Or at least please go to Doomkeep. Okay, good. He's at least gone to Doomkeep. Now, is Slith going to be able to reinforce? Yeah, Slith can move far. That's what I like to see. Hopefully you'll be very leveled by the time we get Fimir. Actually, speaking of, how much do you buff Fimir? So Dirach gives you recruitment rank, care recruitment rank, and stuff. Clan Mother, there we go. Upkeep reduction, and together with this upkeep reduction. Melee attack speed, melee defense, solid buffs. And you buff Norscan giants in all armies. Huh. Long ago, the Fimirian giants enjoyed power and prosperity in equal measure, but the poor first children of chaos, the Fimir, well... they got kicked to the curb with men who are just more fun, apparently. Anyway. This is interesting. So I take it this is only available... I wonder if it's available to Fimir heroes as well. But I guess it doesn't matter right now. What does matter is that we attack Doomkeep, and so we shall. Plus we'll get to debut our Doggos and our Fimir Lord. Go.
them down! This is the greatest raid! You'll see the
Alrighty, cut them down indeed, and ooh, our army looks pretty good under this particular type of lighting. Very nice. Also, that's a nice looking mountain. Oh, this is the place with the Ragnarok nests, isn't it? Yeah, or Ice Spider Nest, I'm not sure, but yeah, it's a neat map is what I'm getting at. Anyway, here we go, round 2, Tribe 2, in theory. Every successive tribe and every successive battle against other Norscans that we fight should get progressively more difficult, as every turn taken to get to the next tribe will mean another turn that the enemy is able to recruit. We are sending forth our Marauder champions with shields to lead all of our troops, simply because they are heavily armored and shielded as well. and this is the summoned unit, so it can take or absorb as much damage from the enemy as possible before we move everybody in. Wulfrik trying to make his way through the lines. They're not doing a great job of parting before him, or it almost looks like he's purposely pushing them out of the way, even though he doesn't have to, but that's just fine. And here we go, gonna get our first cast off, a Searing Doom on a unit of enemy marauders. So the goal is to actually damage this barricade. Another hit and it'll bring the barricade down much faster than we would if we were to whack away at it with our troops. Gonna get a little bit of range action going as our marauder hunters with javelins attack the units up on top of the platform, and any stray shots will hit the enemy units below. Out here, we have made it in with the Mammoth and our other non-summoned unit of Marauder champions, and between the champs and the Mammoth, we should be able to clear the regular Marauders holding us back just fine. Nice little brawl going on, though it is a little bit difficult to tell our units apart. I'm hopeful that we can essentially deal with most of the Norscans within the first episode, and then move on to fighting other different enemies as fast as we can. Frankly, Norsca is one of the fastest at dealing with fighting sort of like-on-like enemies. At least of those factions that are liable to do a lot of like-on-like fighting. Obviously, there are a bunch of factions that don't have other similar factions near them. Anyway, here comes Searing Doom number 2. Fortunately, there's a significant number of enemies below the platform, and they will get hit by the Searing Doom and then the explosion of said platform. Back here, several of the units have been destroyed, pressed against the Mammoth and the Marauder champions and the Norscan Warhounds, with a little bit of help from the Marauder horsemen who are riding around looking for a target to chase down. Wulfrik is trying to push through these Marauders together with his Berserkers here. And Marauder champs, or not Marauder champs, Marauders with great axes, or great weapons. As we want to get to this particular capture point / key location, since the single tower that is on the field is controlled by it. Good job to these Marauders for holding, though I'd wager they won't be able to hold for too much longer anymore, especially with a little bit more support from additional units like the Doggos. Marauder horses charging their way in to join the fray periodically, and then charging right on out. We don't want them stuck in melee because they're bigger models, and obviously thus would take more hits from the enemy Marauders. And besides, our Mammoth will be doing most of the work anyway. Well, the Mammoth and the Marauder champions. Speaking of the Marauder champions, they're pushing forward and further deeper into the enemy formation here. A newly arrived Marauder unit is at reasonable levels of HP, but I believe there are no further melee units over here remaining. Thus, we can charge on in and rip apart this enemy of Marauder horses, and then start charging the remaining still fighting units of Marauders in the back. The enemy chieftain has not yet joined the fray. We'll send his minion, another chieftain. I take it the chieftain that is part of the settlement, as opposed to the lord here, to help out. Our summoned units of Marauder champions have routed, but that's, well, if not quite what we want, it is what we envisioned as we sent them forward to absorb as much damage as possible. Another charge from the Marauders and Marauder Berserkers alike will see the enemy unit here waver and quickly rout, getting a few more javelin throws into the enemy Marauder horses as well, who will be brought down very, very quickly. Norscan javelins are very dangerous to Norscan skirmisher cap, after all. Alright, a couple more volleys in this unit will probably book it on out of there if we don't reach it first with additional fast movers of our own. A few more axes will fly on in and drop a couple more of those Marauder horses, and here come the Doggos and our own horses as well. I'm going to capture that key point as the flag starts dropping. And the the enemy tower will drop and stop supporting that darn enemy army. And here we go, our Fimir Mirg has at last made it onto the field. It did take a while for her to join us, but fortunately she is quite quick and able to join the fray very quickly as well. For those not familiar, the Fimir are a matrilineal race, and their matriarchs, the Mir, are their rulers, their casters, and well, yeah. I believe they're also the only females of the race. Every other Fimir, the Fimir Stalkers, the Bale Fiends, etc., I believe are males. I'm actually not 100% sure about the Bale Fiends, but I do remember the Mirgs are the matriarchs. Anyway, I do believe with that pretty much everything is done for. Nice charge from our first Mirg, and oh, the enemy lord, or the Marauder Chieftain, is approaching Wulfrik. Alright, and Wulfrik will get a duel in this part. Well, maybe not quite a duel, as our own Berserkers are still here. But this isn't even the leader of the faction, so I'm not even sure that he warrants a duel. And he will in fact break rather quickly, and it looks like the enemy lord sees the writing on the wall and decides that no, he's not going to bother fighting and will instead shatter. I wanted to send the Mir to obliterate him, as she's like 3 times his size and has that big ol', I don't know, great mace? No, that's supposed to be a hammer? That's a hammer. It looks like a giant flanged mace. It looks like a 2-handed flanged mace. Would anybody call this a hammer? Would you call this a hammer? Well, it doesn't really matter. But anyway, ooh, a little bit of sea fang action going through the runners, and we're just gonna watch the Mir whack away at the enemy, since she didn't have a chance to do too much in this particular battle. And I believe you have Dampen on you, don't you? So removes magical attack, spell resistance -25, which will be pretty solid considering they are solid casters as well. Anyway, with that, the battle is ours. No real need to chase the enemy down, though one more hit will see the Mir execute him, and down he goes, losing his head. Beautiful work with that not hammer. Go. Alright, there we go, and this time Wulfrik definitely takes the win in terms of dishing out damage, because using that Sea Fang ability through lines of enemies is pretty solid, especially when they blob up nicely for you. I was also quite impressed with the speed of Slith Wallbreaker, though obviously we didn't get a chance to get her into combat too much, but oh well. Marauder Hunters with Javelins, 20k. Yeah, but I do remember Marauder Hunters with Javelins being pretty solid in terms of damage dealing early on, so hardly surprising. Anyway, lovely. Another little confederation for us occupy the place, and there we go. Alright, this time I will give this a read. Lamont Dahl, leader of the Nullfarlings. Tribe has been defeated, a once powerful warlord now reduced to obscurity beneath your might. For as you stand tall in victory, he kneels at your side, hands in chains. His followers stood amongst yours, brought to a halt in anticipation of your next utterance. His men now see him as weak and unfit to lead any longer. This is a chance for you to take control of his faction's forces and land, as well as its followers' dubious loyalty. Though, while the allure of land may appear to make this choice a simple one, do not let the challenges that a larger empire creates escape you. Perhaps simply killing this man and letting whatever is left of his faction fade into memory may be a more fitting end. So yeah, it's there isn't a unique sort of lore blurb for every warlord defeated, though there probably should be for each of the individual Norscan tribes. Yeah. Anyway, we'll form confederation and take their territory as well. Nice. Norscan Warhorse for Wulfrik. And province secure. There's the Confed. I want to see what... Okay, I forgot his name too. That was fast. Lamondal. He has the Mammoth buff. Alright, we may actually use him. Grave Wound may be helpful if we end up fighting Festus. This isn't actually a lot of buffs for Mammoth, though, is it? Plus 10 leadership is basically the only thing. Huh, I wonder if there's another Mammoth buff. Or if this is the only one. I guess we'll find out later. Either way, gotta keep an eye on these ones. Honestly, Mammoth Eater is the better buff because missile resistance is pretty important on big ol' walking targets. Yeah, alrighty. Wolfie, you are level 4 now. That gave you 2 levels. We will also need to... not change, but to... hold on to our points at some point. So if we hold on to them from rank 6, so 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and it'll be 1 short on Echoes of Ambition. Alright, so until level 6 we're ready to level up. So Fearsome Warriors is the way to go since it buffs up Norscan Huskarls and then Marauder Champions, which Wulfrik does love, and probably the Blessed Marauder Champions. Counts as Berserkers, eh? Just out of curiosity. Do his buffs apply to Berserkers? It just says Marauder unit, so yeah, it does. It includes the special unit as well, so we can have the legendary unit in his army. Lovely. Here's some warriors, please. What about you, Mage? Another point in Searing Doom, I think, but also a point in Gehenna's Golden Hounds. And just 2 great spells to have. Next up... Oh, what did we get here? Melee defense +3 on armies and province recruitment cost reductions, eh? It is a plunder building, interesting. So basically all the non-basic buildings cost plunder to build, so that means we should probably not delete this. This gives us a faction-wide... Oh. Huh, that's kind of interesting. It gives us a bunch of faction-wide buffs, but it does increase +5% the cost of all military support buildings. I assume military... Yeah, it's this stuff, so every single one of these will cost more plunder. But I guess the basic buildings that will give us actual troops won't cost any more. I guess the question is, do we leave this here? It's probably not super useful early on, and we are probably better off starting with growth. Speaking of growth... Okay, wait. Next up we have either Surtha Ek, the Ever Chariot. If only we knew where exactly his main stack was, or the Scaling. Now the problem with the Scaling is that as soon... Ooh, Throggy's nearby too. He's not at war with the Sarl. Who's he at war? He's not at war with anybody. He'll probably declare war on one of these guys, maybe the Sarl, though they usually get vassalized... Oh, they're already vassalized. By the Ecstatic Legions. Could beat Azazel into submission. Possibility for it. But anyway, as I was saying, the problem with the Scaling is as soon as you take their territory, you start seeing all the Imperial territories, and the bad thing about that is they start getting hostile with you, which is good, but is also bad, in the sense that, you get both Arcane Conduit and Greater Arcane Conduit? That's swell. That's swell indeed. These guys are pretty great magicians, alright. We can combine Pit of Shades with Flamestorm if we wanted to as well. Alright, I'm getting distracted by everything today. Let's see. Yeah, we probably want to leave the Scaling to second, so let's try the Varg. Let's hope that we find Surtha rather quick. Is he at war? He's not at war with anybody, so in theory he should just be sitting there somewhere. In terms of what we have available here, we started with the Doggo building. We are going to get rid of the Corral. We'll keep the Smithy just for the recruitment cost reduction for the next turn or so, and we will keep collecting income for 1 turn just to recruit more. We will also go into Marauders to Builders and try to replenish. Ooh, we really need a replenishment buff. I don't remember which hero for the Norscans does that for us, or which building allows us to recruit heroes. So... Fimir Bale Fiends are here. Where are the Werekin? Where? Oh, they're also in the same building. Alright, so we just need to rush that building ASAP. Maybe I should have done so in this place, but for now, build it up. And build a growth building. And we'll upgrade it to tier 2 immediately and grow more, and then at tier 3 we'll hopefully spam this building. Does this increase capacity for them? Indeed it does. So we need one of these in every single settlement that we have, everywhere. They also increase capacity for Skinwolves and Fimir. Oh, it's a solid building. Alright, I'm liking the Norscan, the relatively simple admin already, especially after the complex world-spanning empire admin that we've got going on with Imric currently. And a sort of unusual admin with Katep, sort of running the gamut of doing all kinds of different things. Anyway, hold on to the smithy for now. Wolfie. I could use some Marauder Hunters with axes, but I prefer the Javelineers. Frankly, I prefer the Marauder Horsemen with javelins to the throwing axes as well. 123. They're also quite expensive. I mean, in theory, we want Marauder Horsemasters, but they're tier 4. It's going to be a long time until we get Horsemasters, so I think we'll go with a couple of Javelins, because they can act as range and to chase stuff down. We'll want maybe a couple of basic Marauders with shields to run at jerks, especially if we get into early game combat with Malice and with Imperials, who have plenty of range to offer. Alright, that looks good. Let's end the turn. And then we'll uncollect the income here so it grows a little bit faster. Now what we really gotta hope for is that Sirtha Ek isn't hanging around down here instead, as that would be quite annoying for us. As we have to hunt him down. And hello, what do we have here? Slave trade. The world belongs to us, children of the Chaos Gods. Anyone who opposes us is just a commodity we are willing to sell. This event will occur every 30 turns. Trade with Skaven and Beastmen. 10 turns of upkeep reduction, and diplomatic relations increase with Skaven and Beastmen, ambush and stuff. Did they all give us... Okay, they all give us upkeep reduction. Ooh, growth. Ogre Kingdoms and Vampire Coast. And casualty or punishment rate. I don't think any of the others are going to be near as good. And in fact, they're not. Construction time and construction costs solid, but probably... Man... Once every 30 turns, but only for 5 turns. But early game growth is just so good. Ogre Kingdoms and Vampire Coast. You will hunt, you will kill, and you will take their women. Does it say everything? Oh, it's the same one. Okay. Sure. Alright. Faction Destroy the Sightless. Trade with Ogre Kingdoms and Vampire Coast. Mission issued. Oh, that's interesting. Wait, now this... I thought it said for 5 turns. Oh, is this like a growing sort of thing? Capture 2,000 battle captives should be pretty simple. Alright, and it's free plunder as well. I didn't even know about these unique missions. I'm happy about it. You, sir. Constant casualty replenishment rate 10 out of the raiding camp. Are you able to recruit out of the raiding camp? I assume you are. Stay in our own territory and raid it. So that you can max out your... What the heck is this move? Why are you moving like that? Yeah, whatever. Sirtha, my friend. You know what? If we can reach Sirtha in one bound, I think we move down here. And a Slith route. I said this and I thought it said shh. Now I'm kind of tempted to name a guy shh. Just make his or her rather story that's where the origin of the sound came from. But anyway, you can't recruit an enemy territory, but there should be sufficient troops to conquer Sirtha. Nice. Alright, quick growing territory. Just gotta watch out for Belly being upsetty spaghetti. Alright. The rest of this looks good. We got some demolitions completed and we'll need to continue building. You can uncollect your income because we're fine right now. And go into... Gotta go with the marble quarry. Income from all buildings, control, marble, money, and plunder, meaning more techs. First of our techs, speaking of, nearly completed. We also no longer need the smithy here, but we will keep this building because once again we need one everywhere. And we'll build one at the monolith of the Bloody Hand afterwards. Alright. Now we got doubling up on growth, and our places should be growing fairly quick. We just gotta keep ourselves in the money to actually grow them. End turn. I wonder if I should have declared war on Sirtha first so that he didn't leave the place. Let's just hope that he doesn't. Alright, Sirtha, moment of truth. Don't you leave. Don't you chariot away. He better have a chariot buff. I feel like last time I played SFO Norsca, which was in Total Warhammer 2, Sirtha did indeed have a chariot buff, but I don't know if it's a special chariot buff or not. Anyway, Formidable Chieftain. Good. Now, next tech, hero capacity +2 for all heroes? Oh man. It's 10 turns, but that's real good. Why are there 4 Wulfriks? Oh, it's him on his various mounts. I was like, what the heck? Wulfrik turned into a Lethanar and can clone himself. Or, speaking of clones, the Mutant, one of our community canon Skaven Lords, who has just infinity million clones. Anyway, blood-fueled hunger. I'm just taking a look at all the techs that are available to us. I do like the Marauder infantry armor for all Marauder infantry. And we do want to unlock monster hunts rather soon. This, once again, we don't care about at the moment, but we will later. But for now, I think we have better uses for our plunder. Very, very tempted by Cursed and Honored. I think we're going to go Monster Hunter first to unlock the first level of Monster Hunts. We'll need more Javelins for them, mind you. And then we'll go into Cursed and Honored to get the heroes. I wish this tech was available in the early game to every faction, not just Wulfrik. Speaking of Wulfrik, not risking rampage stance while we have fragile doggos and too many horses in this army. You are not at war with anybody, but you're about to be declared war.
Not a chance.
Not a chance? What do you mean not a chance? We declared war on you. What are you saying not a chance to? I don't understand. Alright, Varkamp, Pyrrhic Victory again. A little bit more Norsca, non-Norscan action, but this Confederation mechanic does allow us to get a lot of territory and not fight the other Norscans pretty darn quick. I mean, after Surtha Ek, we'll basically just have Throg and the Scaling. Where are you going, Be'lakor? He's gonna attack us, isn't he? Like 90% sure he's gonna attack us. Well, we're just gonna not invest in upgrading Troll Fjord. If he does, he does. And then we'll have to kill him. He doesn't hate us or anything, but the fact that he's kind of facing towards the player like this, and considering the anti-player bias, is not surprising. You want to attack the Varg, and we're certainly not going to pay him for it. Monolith, money. Oh, this gives us research rate as well. That's swell. Do that, and we'll go for the growth. And then a tier 3. Huh, offering of slaughter. We'll need to build these everywhere, too. Lots of adjacency bonuses, so Norsca will be making decent amounts of cash. Well, mostly in the ports, mind you. The regular Norscan territories don't make much money at all, but, yeah. Alright. I'm just now wondering whether we go for the first stash for money, or whether... control. And... it's a fairly hard choice. Nonetheless, I think we need to build the Longship Husk here as well. But we'll also need the Shaman Sorcerer building everywhere, I take it. So yeah, we'll start with the Shaman Sorcerer. We'll ignore the money building in the main territory, but we'll build money buildings in Troll Fjord and stuff. Nalfari Plain, you need to start with growth and move on to other stuff afterwards. We already got money here, and we'll follow up with growth, and the rest of that looks good. You guys are about to fight. In fact, you shall fight right now. Alright, cut them down again from Wulfrik, and even though he's level, I don't know, 1 or low level, whatever, Surtha Ek rides the ever-chariot on a chariot as he is supposed to be. I am very happy to see it. Alright, good job, buddy, and we'll deal with you soon. We're gonna start the battle off, but yeah, by annoying the enemy now with our 4 available Marauder horses. Axes and javelins alike smashing into the flanks of this one unit of marauders, but it's really the enemy's own marauder horses that we're trying to shadow at this point. Should we be able to destroy those enemy marauder horses, we'll be able to do decent damage just annoying the enemy army, harassing them as they attempt to move towards us. We got our first Sea Fang out. Then through the enemy just to try to get it on cooldown, as if we wait too long we won't be able to use it more than once per battle. Not a crazy amount of damage, but let's see, 116 kills and 15k damage. Actually not so bad for a single use of it. I'm gonna say I'm pretty happy with it. Anyway, looks like the enemy is annoyed between the Sea Fang and the constant harassment from our skirmisher cav. We'll see at least a few of the enemy marauders attempt to charge us. Shields up. but not helping over much, at least not helping all of them. They do send their own Marauder Horsemen to chase us down, however, and this particular Marauder Horseman as a unit has actually fallen into our trap. We've activated our trap card. Anyway, we've hidden our Norscan Warhounds right here in this wood. We waited until the Marauder horses ran past it into this particular location, which is our trap. This is impassable terrain. We've got our hidden units here, so we will block off the Marauder horsemen from attempting to run and hit them from every side with our own horses and with our doggos as well. This unit, if not completely destroyed, will be so heavily damaged it will likely be non-viable for the rest of the battle. And there we go. And I don't remember whether they have 2 or 3 of these on the field, but every single one will be 3, will be a significant loss for the enemy army, as it would thus leave our skirmisher cab to control the battlefield. Wulfrik is still riding around, though he's not super threatened by these guys. He's got 100 armor and 30% missile resistance, and that's when he's not turned towards them with his silver shield. And every time the enemy Marauder horses just sort of charge towards us, we charge Wulfrik at them to force them to back off, allowing us to hit them a little bit more with our own horses, Marauder horsemen rather, than they do. We backed off the hounds back into the trees. The AI doesn't know about it because even though it watched them doing it, it's not aware of it. And then we'll just charge on out from the forest once again, and the doggos will run down Horseman Unit number 2. That said, this time the AI is a little bit more wise to our trick and will actually send Marauders to attempt to back us up. We do have to be careful, as obviously the Norscan Warhounds are extremely fragile and we can't leave them in the battle for too long. So we're going to dish out a bit of damage to this unit and drop them to about 75% of their HP, and then scurry away with all of our Marauder horses and Warhounds, chucking axes as we do. Alright, 2 out of 3 Marauder horsemen, but it looks like Surthak will charge forth. He's going to chariot his way right through our Marauder champions, and will ignore Wulfrik, but will actually get stopped by the Fimir Mir, who will hold him in place and will start the good old-fashioned beatdown. That big old chariot is stuck now. Ain't no way it has enough mass to move through the Marauder horses. Javelins come down from our Marauder hunters. And between Wulfrik and the Mir, it looks like Surtha is done. Beautiful. And just as their chieftain flees the battlefield, the rest of Surtha's army arrives, ready for a little bit of extra damage from our Searing Doom. Very nice. Surtha will attempt to escape 4 units. I mean, look what our cavalry have achieved here. 2 units of Marauder Hunters with Javelins, 2 more units of Marauders, plus these shattered units of Marauder Horsemen, and not participating in the rest of the fight as well. The Mir, together with Wulfrik, will attempt to hold... what's her name again? Slith. Or Shh. But anyway, Slith and Wulfrik will lead the Marauder champions. We're going to chase down Surtha to make sure that his death will cause a morale shock to the rest of his army. And with 745 HP, a couple of volleys from our javelins, or a couple of melee hits, will bring him down, and with relative quickness. Here comes the Mammoth wading through the bodies of Norskins, getting stuck in with its tusks. Now that I think about it, I think Bale Fiends are the male sorcerers, and Mirks are the female sorcerers, or the Fimir. But anyway, shouldn't matter over much, at least not to these Norskins, as they don't have any Fimir of their own in this particular battle, and will soon have no Norskins of their own remaining either. 4 enemy units, 5 enemy units still in the fight, but probably not for much longer. Army losses and the loss of their commander will have caused them quite a bit of a morale shock. This unit will rout. Next unit will get overrun by Norscan Warhounds, and it looks like 3 units that were chasing around our Cav and our Doggos are the only things left on the field. Vanguard Norscan Warhounds, together with Wulfrik, will charge right on in. We can't keep them in the fight for long, however, as they will take massive amount of damage, being very fragile, so we'll wait until the Mammoth joins the fray, as we were able to pin these units in place, and then get the doggos out of there. Mammoth's massive amount of splash damage will send many a Norscan flying, and it looks like these Marauders will shatter. The remaining Marauder Hunters with Javelins are terrified, probably by the presence of the Mammoth as well, and with that, Sirtha Hek will fall, and his faction will join us as well. Beautiful. And great work from all of our units, but particularly, you gotta admit, the Marauder horses. Alrighty, there we go. I think that battle was a great example of how good Skirmisher Cav is in the early game, despite the fact that the enemy had more units than us of the same type, exactly the same type of Norscan units, and on top of the fact that the enemy has the AI buffs due to both difficulty and the AI stats modifier, increasing their power relative to ours, we suffered barely any losses, and they were completely obliterated. The value of having a couple of skirmisher units divide the enemy army to like 2/3 and a third is just, well, invaluable. Anyway, decent plunder, decent money, and a free Sirtha Ek to call our own. We'll occupy the place and we'll confederate ourselves another Norscan chieftain. Form confederation. Yeah, it's the same thing. I just had to double check. Form confederation and Sirtha.
Challenge undeniable.
Savage Chief. Huh. He does have a good, it is a good trait. Missile resistance for infantry and melee attack for infantry is very solid. Ah, and that includes monstrous infantry. Oh, that's actually a really solid trait. But it wasn't the chariot trait that I was expecting. Maybe he has like a secret special immortal lord trait that we'll see. We'll recruit him as soon as we can. We're not playing without Sirtha. Oh, Norse Resilience. I should have gotten this earlier rather than Fearsome Warriors. It's solid, yes. Norse Resilience it is. 1 point into easy casualty or punishment trait, and we can get more of a natural healing and upkeep if we want to go into the blue line. Now, this is an okay blue line. It does have the replenishment and fueled by war, but it's only an okay one. This is the kind of blue line I usually am tempted by, but ignore, mostly because a good blue line usually has something really useful in the first set, and pretty much all blue lines have something useful in the second set of skills. The problem with this is it doesn't actually have anything useful for a fighting lord, really, for the first trait. Maybe the sacking, but it's certainly something we can do without. The good stuff is generally here. So we will have to think about whether we want to go deep into this. The blue line of the elves, however, as I learned in my Imric campaign, or at least for the princes and princesses, is just fantastic because it gives you Merchant Lord to start off with, which is a faction-wide money-making trade buff, and then you can go into Elven Scholar, which gives you research, and Quartermaster, which gives you reductions and upkeep, and then if you want, you can get casualty or punishment rate as well. It's all very nice. But anyway, I'm distracted. You, sir. Don't need this. Gehenna's Golden Hounds. Do we want maybe metal shifting? 1 point in it. You know what? We probably do want Glittering Robe. It's quite nice as well. Alright, Glittering Robe it is. Now let's see what we got. 3 harbors in the Hellspire Mountains. Well, that's hell-spiring. Let us pick up the Obsidian Quarry to start the day. I also want to see what's going on here. So the demonic factions here don't hate us yet. They don't know what we're doing to them yet. We'll see. Where is Malice? I wonder if it might be beneficial to kill him off early, before he can get even... I think he only has 1 settlement. We could sail over here, kill off Malice... like, immediately. Although, we do have to prioritize Throg. I wish I knew where he was exactly. 5 settlements, still not at war with anybody. More likely than not, he's just sitting pretty in a settlement somewhere. Well, we're gonna have to find him. Either way, you're once again gonna go into... How far does this go? Actually pretty far. Actually very far. Actually very, very far. Assuming that we travel by land, and Varkamp is one of the broken harbors, I think it doesn't work as an actual harbor because the terrain here is broken, so you actually have to move outside it, and then it's a whole thing. So we're not going to do that. What we are going to do is pop you into Venerate the Four. Is this a river crossing, or do we have a ford or a road? No, it looks like we're fine. It's not a crossing. Alright, good. I mean, you crossed the river, but it's not... You know what I mean. Anyway, trying to go over here, see if we can't find Thragi. Most likely he's sitting at the Forbidden Citadel. And then maybe go briefly back for Malice. If Bellicor is coming for us, and some likelihood that he is, you know what? Start leveling Trollfjord just in case. If he's not, we can ignore him. If he is, well, then we can't. Alrighty, now, Wolfie, do you want to recruit anything else? We could, I think, use a couple more Marauder Javelins. They're cheap, they're effective, they do good work. So, yes, we can't afford more than one. We do get the... Wait. I was about to say the Cold Voider, but no. To rank 10, we get the Beasts of Tashnar, which is a solid Norscan Warhound unit because they're anti-large and they're low model count, as I recall. I'm recalling wrong. 80, but they're still anti-large, so we can use them to chase horses down better than the regular Norscan Warhounds. Maybe a little bit of help from Norscan Ice Wolves, at least as soon as we can get them on the field. Alright, rest of that looks okay. Fimir, I guess you can start off with Norse Resilience then. Do you have anything unique here? Spawn of Chaos, Unnatural Healing, Fueled by War, Savage Skills, Infamous Raider. No, it looks like it's the same thing. But yeah, I'm probably gonna have at least a couple of Fimir Lords, because I like their casting capabilities. End turn. Who will declare war on us this turn? Let's find out. We'll also have to make a decision on how much of the Northern Chaos Wastes we want to conquer. I mean, ideally we want to both conquer the Northern Chaos Wastes since it's good territory, at least in the sense that there's a lot of ports up there. But at the same time, I don't want to be bogged down fighting Chaos for too long. We need to despoil the lands of men, so that's what we shall do. But anyway, we'll probably do both at the same time or as best as we can. And let's move you out here into as far as we can go. Slith, you can follow. Hopefully Throg isn't right here ready to attack us, because in March stance is a very, very dangerous proposition in SFO. Looks good. Bellicor? It looks like he gave up on the idea, perhaps I was about to say perhaps because we're strong, but we're strength rank 101, so not so much. At least not yet. Alrighty. Doomkeep, definitely upgrade yourself. And we'll go for the Trophies of Battle, which gives us growth and a little bit of research rate, and a little bit of faction-wide recruitment cost reduction. That I like. Alright, and those are our 3 provinces. You're collecting income? Should we actually collect income? Well, no, I still say we should probably grow more than collect income, though this place... it's still not as growing as much as I'd like. Let's uncollect for a bit. At least until we switch into Marauders to Builders to get the additional growth. Besides, it's still a very small amount in the early game, and we're not really using the money for anything else. End turn. Gotta find ourselves a frog, and get ourselves a nice duel. We won't declare war on him to take his territories until we find him directly, because I don't think there's a point to going after them one by one. Let's hope he's at the Monolith of Flesh, though somehow I doubt it. Most likely he's over here somewhere, closer to Krakadrek. Because there are potential enemies over there, or at least more of them. Oh, he's now at war with the Masters of Innovation, so we know where he is. He'll be moving towards them. But, well. I'd like to get Throg on the field fast as we can. So we're still moving this way. We'll trespass. He won't like it, but that's not our problem. Travel through his territory. Maybe I should have picked up the Sarl encampment at the same time, but oh well. Hoping I don't come to regret this because we don't have a full stack, but oh well. Maybe we should be moving in raiding camp stands so that we could raid as we go. Whatever. Hopefully Throg doesn't die and get wounded, as that would be a big issue. Longship... Wait. What other buildings do we have? Yeah, see, I'd rather get this loot pile first. Grayling Moon to upgrade to tier 2. And that's all we got money for. Alright. Do we collect the income now? Wait, Venerate the 4 can switch now to Marauders to Builders, and I think we... 251. It's not a lot of money, but if we can't afford buildings right now, the extra growth isn't all that helpful anyway, so we'll do it. Diplomacy, let's double check. Wintertooth wants to be friends, but, well, there's another way to be friends if we beat you into friendship. Deadwood Sentinels want to be friends, probably because they're weak at the current time. I don't see a real need, they're a minor Dark Elven faction. We'll just ignore them for now. And keep heading towards Throg and hope he doesn't lose his main stack to Malachi. Although I suppose if he does, we'll just beat Malachi down and then come back for Throggy. Alright, looks like no war declarations. We're very, very far from that other border of ours, so we do have to watch out for war declarations. Ready for duty, grow your forces, will do. Move. And move. Alright, still no Throg. Please don't be at the Forbidden Citadel. No, he's not. Alright. We'll get there. House of Strength. Oh, he's still looking pretty strong, so he does have his main stack. I built more Marauder Hunters, did I not? Well, I got 3 of them now. Hopefully it's sufficient. We're not leveling as much... Oh, where are you going, Hamathane Frost? I don't think he can declare war on us without these guys telling him to. So even if he does, well, even if he wants to, he won't unless they do. I think. We'll see. Start with the growth. Oh. I need the Ruinous altar. Although, the public order is fine. Go for the growth, nonetheless. And, okay, let's do all the buildings. We have to prioritize encampment. And I guess you can get one of these trophies of battle as well. At least a tier 2. And the rest of that looks good to me. Alright. And the turn. And lots of early game turn endings. But, I mean, we're moving, but it's not like we're not really conquering, because all of this will be conquered as soon as we, well, conquer Throg. I just want him to start moving around on his own and acting as another army of ours quick. We'll probably get a second lord to sort of leech XP from Throg, and then we'll separate both of them into 4 armies. We're like cells. We're Norscan cells. Alright, I'll let the games begin. I don't know what this is. Free public order, I want to say? Yeah, it's free public order. Alright, that's solid. Now, Throggy. More Kaka Stigson. I don't think so. They're still strong, meaning your main faction or main territory is a lock. Yeah, wait, how many territories do you have? He has 5. Now the question is, which 5? I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4. He probably does not own Krakadrak. Can we see Krakadrak from here? I see Winter Pyre. Okay, move a little bit closer. I just don't know which way to turn. There he is. Why are you at sea? Please don't be at sea, dude. Alright, I'm gonna hope that he'll land here. Go into Raiden camp. Right up to him. Go here. If he lands at Winter Pyre, he's screwed. Let's hope he does. Alright, we can't recruit other than global. We can build, but that's about it. Norscans, whatever, raiders to builders or whatever it is. Loot pile for you, loot pile for me. Beast Tamer, growing money. And growing money. Who said money doesn't grow on trees? Alright, faction destroyed, all-seeing eye. Not hopefully a concern to us. I see the spirit of Grundy. Froggy. You poor, poor troll, man. It will be sad to have destroyed your troll units, but it must be done for the glory of Wulfrik. Plus, he has to defeat Throg in combat, doesn't he? Hey, unlock our first level of the monster hunts is available as well. Is the Cold Voider the first one? Yes, indeed it is. I feel like this is actually a fairly tough fight. I don't know if I'm remembering correctly, but I feel like this is the fight where he summons a massive vortex and worse snowstorms, and then endlessly spawns units until you kill him off. Well, either way, we will do this, but we have bigger throgs to fry right now. Not fly. I'm just hoping that Malachi doesn't immediately attack us as soon as we take Throg out, with his full stack, presumably. But if he does, it'll at least be interesting. You go here, Wolfie. Once again, I really want to go into a rampage stance, but we cannot. No, go right here. I don't know what trait this Mir has. Hammer infantry, you're also hammer infantry, right? Yeah, alright. Alright, wait. Join war against Wintertooth. Free 1200 gold. Yes, please. Huh. Minus 50 aversion. Malachi, I mean, minus 50 is not so bad. Alright, I gotta think about this. Yeah, but then we wouldn't be able to... I don't even know what his defeat trait is. The main problem... I was just thinking, what if we ally Malachi as an unlikely... Oh.
Excellent.
That's not good. As an unlikely ally. The main issue with this is that we'd essentially have to compete with him for territory. And I fear that Malachi currently owns the lair of the Troll King. No, the Magath can own the lair of the Troll King. Yeah, but then he'd attack the lair of the Troll King, and we have to have the lair of the Troll King. What if Kislev will take our alliance? Their units would at least somewhat nicely work with ours. Actually, so would the Dwarfen units, damn it. I might have to give up the lair of the Troll King now. Huh, you can vassalize the dwarfs as Norskins? Well, that's interesting. That's real interesting. Huh. He's allied with the Ice Court and the Urson Revivalists. We don't want to compete with the Urson Revivalists for Chaos territory, although it's a nice idea. I mean, the thing about the Norskins is that they can conquer pretty much any territory. I mean, look at this. Everything is suitable except magical forest, who cares? And desert, I mean, yes, we've got, Norskins have gone to the desert, but still, who cares? And ocean, which is one single territory on the entire map. So almost everything is green. It's just that the territories that we capture, are, with the exception of port territories, have a tendency to be garbage. But ports are great because they generate lots of money. Well, we'll ask to join the war against Throg. But I think we have to kill Malachi. You can't have this. This is all territory we want. This is Norscan territory, including... It's so tempting, though. This is worth how much? 5.2. And this is worth how much? 10. Not enough to vassalize. Alright, you know what? Just join the war against Throg. Don't do the non-aggression pact yet. I want to see something. I want to see if we can move to take the lair of the Troll King before this guy gets there. Also gotta check how much territory the Magath can hold, but for now, join war. Thank you. Magath can hold one territory, so only the lair of the Troll King. That's interesting. That's interesting. For now, though, it's Throganing time. That's a word, I swear. Go.
They stand trembling over there with their champion, still trying to summon more help. May the battlefield be soaked red with their blood!
Alrighty, there we go. A proper speech from Wulfrik appropriately when we finally get a proper opponent. The first battle, or the main battle that I wanted to get in the first episode. The battle against Throg and his fairly decent early game army. Lots of trolls in there, and even without Throg's buffs, they would be pretty darn threatening to our Marauders. That said, we do have plenty of anti-large, and we do have the Seafang to call upon, the magic school bus ship that likes to teleport and just ram through lines of Norskans. It will do nothing to Throg and will do nothing to his trolls, but he's probably going to be pretty upset about all the Marauders that just got pulped by it. Would have been cool if Throg kind of just like held out his hands and stopped the ship in its place. Good job, Throggy. Anyway, looks like we got a decent bit of damage on a lot of the enemy units. Probably not a crazy amount of kills, but, well, the damage is certainly there. That's just the beginning of the fight, however. We wanted to get that thing on cooldown, and we can now move Wulfrik away while we wait for our next use, while we do the whole harass the enemy with our Marauder horses. Can't wait until we get Marauder Horse Masters. They're a very solid unit, and can do a little bit more work in melee than the Marauder Horsemen of the regular variety can. Now, it looks like the enemy does have some reinforcements available to it, an enemy Mirk and a unit of Marauder Hunters with the Javelins. We got our own Mirk moving onto the field at the same time, and we will meet the enemy Mirk with the Feral Mammoth and the Marauder Berserkers here, while the rest of our army awaits Throg. Now, this is a fairly decent position for us. We've got an impassable cliffside over on this side of the battlefield, and this looks like a Norscan Godstone, or whatever they're called, of I want to say, looks like Zinj to me, but anyway, Totem, that's the word, standing there. And you can't pass this as well, so we've got a nice line of units ready to go. Anyway, Marauder horses will join some ice trolls in attempting to chase us down. Neither of these two, well, at the very least, the trolls should be too slow to catch us. Though at 50 movement speed, we do still have to be relatively careful. On the bright side, we actually would prefer the trolls waste their time chasing our units of Marauder horses, as the axes with their armor piercing can do solid damage to the Norscan ice trolls. And probably the Javelins also with their anti-large. And in fact, we'll bring one of the trolls down. Beautiful. Keep on chasing. In the meantime, the enemy Mirg has arrived on the field together with our own, and we will immediately head towards the fight. Alright. And it's a nice little one-on-one duel. I think our Mirg looks much better because of the... I wonder why that is. Our Mirg's weapon is glowing like it's an enchanted weapon, while this one not so much. And that's gotta hurt as the Mammoth hits reasonably hard at 550. Though, as I recall, the Feral Mammoths that one of Imric's dragon taming battles had were hitting at like 1,000 per hit, which was a lot more. But I guess those were special or were modified by virtue of the battle scenario of the dragon taming. Anyway, the Marauder Berserkers should be able to lay into and destroy the Marauder Hunters with Javelins with decent ease, though Marauder Berserkers are still going to be a relatively fragile unit and may still take damage. Throg's main host is still moving towards us, and it does look like the enemy Marauder or Norscan Ice Wolves do manage to catch our Marauder horses with throwing axes. They shouldn't have been able to, but I left this unit on skirmish and was hoping to be able to leave it to its own devices. Yeah, pro tip, never trust skirmish in Total War. Alright, out here, however, the enemy fell for the same sort of situation that we did, as our Norscan Warhounds managed to catch the enemy Marauder horses and should be able to destroy them. Similarly, the enemy Mirk and the enemy Javelins made their way off the field, and the fact that they routed is probably decent for us. Throg vomits on our unit of Marauder champions, and the vomit pretty much instantly shatters them. Hey, it would shatter me too, and they're going to rout. But this is why we deployed them out here ahead of the rest of our army, so that the vomit hit them and not one of our non-summoned units. That said, the battle is just beginning. Here come the trolls. They're going to wade into our battle lines, sending many a marauder champion flying, and Throg will follow them in as well. There we go. We're going to start our javelin work there. Anti-large javelins hitting Throg pretty hard and dropping him to about half HP, while Wulfrik has sighted him and is moving through our battle line towards him. Love that ice breath from Throg as well. And that's a nice kick, sending many a marauder flying, but Wulfrik has arrived. And we'll start whacking away at Throggy, who is now so heavily damaged he probably won't be in the fight too much longer. He will take the time to kick a few more of our marauders away and apart, but then we'll begin to run. The rest of the enemy units will, by the looks of it, or at least some of them, will turn. Norscan ice trolls here obliterated by our feral mammoth. We do have a flanking unit of trolls as well, but our Slith, our Fimirmir, is holding them off. And quite heroically, I might add. With a little bit of help from the Berserkers, though obviously they're not going to be particularly effective against the enemy trolls. Alright, another enemy unit of Marauders moves on in and tries to bail the Norscan trolls out, but too little, too late. The bounce power shifts to about 70% in our favor. Throg attempts to return to the fray, but seeing how many units are routing, decides to give up on it. Alright, another unit of trolls is breaking. Norscan ice trolls are still fighting, but are taking many a javelin to the face for as long as they stick around. Wulfrik is right in the middle of the fray as well, surrounded by trolls. And deprived of a deadly conclusion to his duel, but, well, at least these guys are still fighting. Alright, and with that, the balance power shifts to about 95% in our favor, climbs all the way to 100, and the battle will end in our favor. Alright, very, very nice. Gotta give it up to our Marauder champions for staying out front and taking that vomit, as it could have been devastating to our regular unit of Marauder champions. Our units of Cav did fairly well in the background, though mostly just annoyed enemy isolated units and their own fast movers. Our line held very nicely, and Wulfrik, as well as the Marauder javelins, carried the day, especially the javelins, dishing out massive damage to Throggy and the trolls as they attempted to attack our line. Lovely. With that, we got our second legendary lord already. Alright, there we go. It's a shame to destroy Throg's trolls, but he'll be back, and we still should have access to Norscan ice trolls. I combined ice and Norscan into Iceskin, but okay. Hey, it's Ice Can, not Ice Can't. But anyway, yeah, he is destroyed, but we'll confederate him and get him. Alright, back to getting some action. And he did give us the most proper fight of the other lesser lords. Those trolls hit our lines hard, nearly destroying our unit of Marauder champions, even though the summoned unit of Marauder champions took Throg's vomit for the rest of the team. And the rest of the trolls did pretty good as well. 9k damage, 8k damage, 10k damage. We'll be getting plenty of our own trolls as well, as their great units, if low in leadership. Occupy the place. And there we go. Okay, I got worried that Throg couldn't be confederated for a second. The delay, man, the delay got me. Anyway, the leader of Wintertooth, Throg, has been defeated. His followers look on in horror. Their unwavering belief in their leader dashed in an instant. Even this legend cannot deny your supremacy amongst all Norscans now. Surely now is the time to seize control, bring his domain into yours, take all that was once his. Or you may free him, as an insult perhaps, an unending torment for this foe, and the choice is yours. I mean, this really needs to be upgraded into like a much bigger buff. Like give it plus 30 growth plus, I don't know, 20 turns of tribute and a bunch of stuff. Because it's never a choice, because this is garbage. It's basically nothing. But anyway. Anyway, obviously we're going to form Confederation and get our second Legendary Lord on the field immediately. Get a nice Norse Berserker for Wulfrik as well, and I guess he can have the Biting Blade, at least for now. Barbarian, income from post-battle loot. A skull, or a Mysterious Island, yeah. And a Norscan Warhorse for our Mage, as well as the defeat trait from Throg, which gives us bonus versus large, which will help in our monster hunts. Very nice. Now we'll have to figure out what we do about Malachi Macaisen. He does hold decent territory. I guess here's the issue. If we vassalize him, we wouldn't be able to vassalize the Skaven, eh? And once again, I don't want to be competing for territory with him. Oh. And Disciples of Hashut, Chaos Dwarfs. We want them as an ally fairly early. There's a bunch of stuff in their roster I want, and we don't want to be fighting them. The problem is, if we vassalize Malachi, he's gonna be pretty spaghetti about it. I wonder how he feels, or how Astrogoth feels about the... What? The Great Orthodoxy has no aversion whatsoever. They don't have aversion to each other, the Chaos Dwarfs and the... Huh. Well, that's interesting. So we could be friends with the Chaos Dwarfs and they wouldn't care at all. The Skaven would, but... Maybe we take Kislefite allies or vassals. Assuming we can... Wait. Yeah, we do have the become vassal thing. Meaning... We can either give them territory, or potentially... I wonder if we get the defeat them and thereby be offered confederation thing. As in, not in the way that Norscans do, but if their last settlement falls, do we get the option to vassalize them? It's certainly an interesting idea, though I fear that Malachi has to die. That said, I'm going to call the episode here. We are very much obviously out of time, got some great battles, and took a very enthusiastic walk along all of Norsca to get Throg. It's a pretty good point to end the episode off. I'd like to hear your guys' opinions on Malachi, Kislev, how we do allies, how we do the Northern Chaos Waste, etc., 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 before the next episode. So, let me know your thoughts. Stay tuned for more Wulfrik and Norsca. Don't forget to leave those likes and comments below. All glory to the algorithm. And thanks for watching.